Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Joe. Parker's not here. He's at work somewhere doing something, stacking a shelf, rolling some meat, making some soup. I don't know. But I decided to hop on and make a podcast because I already started freaking out. As soon as I woke up, I was like, all right, I'm just going to smoke a little bit of weed, chill out, drink some coffee, sit there for 10 seconds and get my bearings because I just woke up. I got bedhead. I'm all fucked up. It's so humid, so I don't got a shirt on, you know. I walked past my mirror and I'm already dealing with that. So I'm like, damn, I could be way more jacked instead of this skinny. Anyway, I walk out. I'm like, it is what it is. I get my coffee. I sit down, pack the bong, and then I smoke like half the bowl, put the thing down, and then I knock it over. So the downstem broke. I don't know about I think the bowl is fine, but the downstem broke, so I think I could still smoke out of it. I just rinsed the hell out of it, and like I'm gonna go try again later. Hopefully I don't die from like glass inhalation or something, but I just left it there. I was like in defeat. I just looked at it, and then I just kind of put it upright, and then got some paper towels, cleaned up all the bong water that was all over the table. Smelled not good, so I hit it with some Windex to make it smell a little better. It's glass on the table anyway. On the bright side, I did get to enjoy a pastry I bought, so I had some coffee cakes, so that it saved the morning. It really did, because I went over to grab my coffee and I sipped it again, and I was like, oh shit, reduced price coffee cake that I got from work. Work is hooking it up now too. I'm loving work, man. They give me all kinds of discounts on everything. I'm coming home every day like Santa Claus with a bunch of food and stuff. It's been great. Reduced price and everything. Speaking of prices, I was looking, so I have like this military fascination all the time. I don't know why it happens. So I was looking at airplane stuff, and then I was looking at actually Ray-Ban sunglasses, and little did we know, or little did I know, of course, Ray-Bans were part of like the Army Air Corps type thing or whatever. Hold up, I'll get you the history of it here in a second, just so names, because I'm not good at memorizing. Here you go. In 1929, U.S. Army Air Corps Colonel John A. McCready worked with Bush and Loam, a Rochester, New York-based medical equipment manufacturer, to create aviation sunglasses that would reduce the distraction for pilots caused by the intense blue and white hues of the sky. Specifically, McCready was concerned about how pilots' goggles would fog up, greatly reducing visibility at high altitude. So they created a prototype in 1936, and these were anti-glare glasses. They had plastic frames, green lenses, and I guess they were good for like misty conditions. You know how it is. Well, I guess none of us really know. If you've been on an airplane, you look out the window, it's daytime. It's a lot of white and a lot of blue in the sky. So these things helped with those glasses. But everybody, I mean, you could kind of guess, like, oh, aviator sunglasses. Like, you guess where it comes from. But you just think of the cool pilot sitting there with his fucking aviators on. And then he takes them off when he goes flies, right? Well, not in the case of back then. You had to wear goggles. Or at least like a fighter pilot does. I guess if you're flying like commercial plane or whatever, you could just look cool the whole time if you want to. Unless it gets kind of dark in the cabin. But then again, it's like driving, I imagine. There's just windows, you see the sun, whatever. Ray-Ban was their most popular models, which I didn't know. There's this Wayfarer model, and I guess the one I like, because I never really rocked aviators. I don't know why. Like, my face is perfect for sunglasses. Some people don't look good in glasses, and I think that's like the one thing I can pull off. Like, I found my thing. I was tired. Everybody can pull everything off. You know, my friend's wearing like a jersey with like an undershirt. He looks good. I put it on. I look stupid. You know, I wear this, that. I look stupid. Finally, I found a thing. Like, I can put on any sunglasses and rock them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what size, what shape. If they're like huge, if they're like those kid ones that were, or the fake kid ones that are like the doll ones, if they're like gigantic, then yeah, I mean, they're not going to stay on my head like anybody's. But I could pretty much rock all kinds of frames. With that being said, I always liked just the regular, I'm a minimalist type person. I never wanted aviators. I don't know why. Probably because everybody thought they were cool. So I was like, I'm going to do the opposite just because. But then I just went with the next best thing, or possibly the thing that's even more in use than aviators, which are the Wayfarers, but not the original Wayfarers. They kind of look like, the original Wayfarer sunglasses by Ray-Ban look like the old lady librarian type thing. Like, they're pointed up a little bit. And I don't know if I like that. They got these new ones. Where are they? I think it's literally just new Wayfarers. Yeah, new Wayfarer. There's another like a chromatic one. I'm just on the website looking at fucking Ray-Bans, but there's a chromatic one which looks kind of cool. But I don't know. The Wayfarers are just kind of goofy. They look normal, but just like on the side, they curve up to where it's not totally pointed, but But the new Wayfarers are fire. Those square ones, that's just like, that's my favorite type of sunglasses style or frame. I don't know why, because it just is like the classic, and you can't go wrong with the classic when it comes to sunglasses. Like, I don't think much about my clothes, but I also don't dress like shit. I hit the basic things. I try and get colors. I've talked about this before. I try and look presentable in every scenario. So like you could drop me into a skate park. You could drop me into like a library. You could drop me into a grocery store. I could go anywhere. You could go anywhere wearing anything, but you know what I mean. Like, nobody would really turn an eye like, oh, he's dressed like this. He's dressed like this. It's just basically I'm dressed like the closest you could get to is probably some college student. Straight up t-shirt, jeans, t-shirt, shorts. Shoes is where I'll do it a little bit, but even that, it's minimalistic. I just don't like shit to wear. Like, clothes doesn't interest me, but accessories kind of do. So I don't know if a shoe is. I'm not a big watch guy. I'm not a big jewelry guy, but bracelets and backpacks and hats and sunglasses, fire to me. Like, I don't have a lot. I just get one good one or something. Like, I wear the same black Patagonia hat and the same black sunglasses that are these type of model, and I've had them for like 4 years. The sunglasses, not the hat. But it just, if it works, it works. I'm one of those people that just get the best thing and just wear that. I don't know. I met a guy at work. He was buying all kinds. This dude was buying the work sunglasses that have like different lenses. So like they're all UV. He's all good. But one of the lenses was like yellow, then it's blue, then it's purple, and he's just getting them all. Like, I can't do that. I need like one thing of each. You know, if I have a closet full of shoes, I feel like I'm a freak out. Like, I just need 5 shoes. I need to keep track of all my stuff. It's weird. But those are my favorite. I like the new Wayfarer styles. It's like a little more square, a little more savage. Feel like you have to play guitar or fly a fucking airplane or something to wear aviators. You know, I don't think I handle that energy on my face for more than just trying them on. But the square ones, you could do anything, man. It makes you dress to do anything. See, I would argue that aviators make you look too cool. I don't want to be looking too cool, because then I look cool. And if I look cool, I look like something. Boom, right there. A lot of talk about aliens recently. You know what I didn't know? In World War II, like, shit went on in Alaska. There was a whole battle and everything, and people like died. Like, it was a thing, and it lasted like a year. Like, the Japanese landed on an island in Alaska, and they did stuff. I don't remember exactly what. I didn't look into it too much because, you know, but it is called the Forgotten Battle, because it was overshadowed by other events of the war. But I was hearing a perspective that a bunch of historians believe that it could have been like a pump fake or a diversionary attack to draw U.S. forces away from the Battle of Midway, which was kind of like a turning point in the war. But that was an idea. I just didn't, like, I started looking at pictures and I'm like, oh shit, like, they actually, it wasn't just like, oh, they were off the coast. Because you know how you always hear about Russian bombers flying around Alaska, and then you see the news article, oh, U.S. scrambles 2 F-22s, and you're like, all right, but no, whatever, nobody did anything. These dudes actually walked out. They were like, hey, bro, I'm taking this fucking thing. And I believe they were called the Aleutians, like the people themselves on one of these islands, but they have their own name. Anyway, they didn't really care. They were offered evacuation by the U.S., and they were like, eh. Later on, I guess the Japanese started taking some of these natives to Hokkaido in Japan and putting them into internment camps. So then the U.S. did like a forced evacuation. But anyway, what I was originally going for is that there's a lot of alien talk coming out now. I don't know what's going on, but it got me thinking. I saw that movie Battle Los Angeles when I was little. Like, my brother came home with it. I didn't think much of it. But the other thing I realized is that there was a Battle of Los Angeles. Like, there was an actual one. Nobody talks about it. I mean, they do. Like, alien people talk about it and shit. But it wasn't really an alien, probably. I mean, I don't know what it was, but just the circumstance I thought was funny, because the Japanese... So this is like a day before this happened. Battle Los Angeles, it wasn't really battle. It was just like a false alarm, I guess, in February 1942. Yeah, in February 1942, Los Angeles... there was some kind of object picked up by radars that was flying over by multiple radars, and the defense people or the army or whoever, the Navy was in Los Angeles, the U.S., they were like, oh no, the Japanese are coming to attack us, because the day before they kind of did, which this is the part where I was like, which I didn't know about. So on February 23rd, President Roosevelt was giving a speech. He was giving a fireside report to the nation. And at that time, a Japanese submarine rose out of the sea off Elwood, a hamlet on the California coast north of Santa Barbara, and pumped 13 shells into Tidewater refinery installations. The shots seemed designed to punctuate the president's statement that The broad oceans, which have been heralded in the past as our protection from attack, have become endless battlefields on which we are constantly being challenged by our enemies. True, the oceans, just the geography of the U.S. have kind of protected it. But anyway, yet the attack, which was supposed to carry the enemy's defiance and which did succeed in stealing headlines from the president's address, was a feeble gesture rather than a damaging blow. So this submarine surfaced at 19:05 Pacific time. So what is that, 7:05? Just 5 minutes after the president started his speech. And then for around 25 minutes, 20 minutes, the submarine kept position like 2,500 yards offshore, delivered the shots, I guess, through the 20 minutes. I'm not sure. But the shells did minor damage to piers and oil wells, missed the gasoline plant, which I guess was their main aiming point. So if they missed that, there was no real military effect of the raid. So it didn't even do, I mean, it did like $500 worth of damage today, which was like 7,000 back then or something like that, but nothing too crazy. However, that was a straight up attack. Like, they shelled Santa Barbara, which I don't know how I missed this. How the fuck? I never knew until like 4 days ago that Santa Barbara or Elwood or whatever was shelled during World War II. Like, even though it wasn't that much damage or any of a big deal, that's like, what do you mean there's World War II in Hollywood? Like, I don't put those two together. I always forget where like geography is. I was watching a video on this topic and they were saying that there was all this hysteria created by this, especially after. I just wanted to preface that because this was the day before. This is February 23rd. February 24th, the night of, is when this Battle of Los Angeles, when this unidentified flying object, if there was even something that the radar picked up, that was the very next morning. So it was like the perfect storm. So you could see how people were like, oh, yesterday we got shelled during the president's speech, and now there's machine gun fire at 1 a.m. People in Seattle were tweaking too, and they were telling her to put the lights off and stuff. And apparently shops were getting smashed and people were getting beat up if they left their lights on. And I'm like, wait, Seattle? It's just so, I don't know why, it might be me, but I kind of don't, when I think of Seattle, Portland, I don't think of war. I don't really think of any city like war, but I mean, other than like the Gettysburg and stuff, I guess in the U.S. you could think of like New Orleans, that you can kind of War of 1812. But other than the Civil War, you never really think of war inside the U.S. Or I'm trying to think of something, like I feel like what I'm saying is stupid, like I'm missing something, but it's just crazy to think like, yo, you could have been just battling it out. Like, they landed in Alaska, the Japanese did. Why the fuck wouldn't they land on a beach somewhere outside LA and just march in? It's just crazy. But you hear the talks of like, oh, the submarines, German submarines off the coast in New York and shit, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. But for some reason, just the West Coast, I just always forget about that. I'm like, wait a minute, Alaska? And then you look at Alaska and you're like, oh, that's the prime spot. Like, Alaska's on the doorstep of everything to the other side. So it's just a place I never associated with war, is like on the front doorstep of an invasion if we were to get messed up, because usually our enemies seem to be on that side. Just reading into it, especially the Aleutian campaign, just what went down and how they just straight up occupied an island. They landed troops. It just blew my mind. I don't know. And then this Battle of Los Angeles, which I guess they attributed to a weather balloon that had been sent up, but I don't know. I don't think it was a UFO either. It could have been the Japanese, like if they attacked the day before, it could have been them sending some kind of thing over to test the defenses maybe. Why not? You ever look at those like those nuke maps, like where they, if they drop a nuke on what city, if you're in the radius, it's like there's like a couple spots in Kansas, somewhere in Montana. Like, you're still going to get the air. But if you want to not be in the initial blast radius, that's like the strip over there. Like Tornado Alley over there looks like the perfect spot. Of course, Chicago's takes Illinois out. No matter where I go, down here in the middle of nowhere or back home closer to the city. I mean, obviously, we're in like the first ring of the blast where I live back home. So hopefully nothing like that happens, okay? Because that would suck. Still, it's come close. I wonder about that. Like, how close we've come to destruction how many times. There was that one guy, that one Russian dude that prevented a nuclear attack because it was a wonky radar or something. Man, radar almost costing the whole world's lives. How many times here? I think they screwed that up on Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor, they picked up some radar stuff and then they were like, yeah, it's fine. So many mishaps. whatever. It's in the past. Kind of cool how it influences history today, especially with the alien thing. That movie was influenced by those events, but even that picture, you see that picture of all the searchlights on the one thing? Even that picture was touched up to show like the more of the distinctions between black and white. So, see, for me, I thought the whole thing was the UFO thing, but I didn't know about this shelling with this submarine the days earlier. So now I'm thinking like maybe they were trying to test something or test the defense. Maybe they sent a balloon up. Like, who's to say? You know, I don't know. I don't know if they carry weather balloons around. I'm not like a submarine expert. How big are they? Will they fit in the submarine, you know? But what if they just surfaced the submarine and they were like, dude, watch them tweak out, and they sent a weather balloon up or something or some kind of thing over, and then they watched like LA go up crazy and turn all their lights on and everything. But then the Japanese after the war said that they had never flown any planes over Los Angeles. But also again, like, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna take your word. Why should they tell us? At this point, maybe they would have, but a lot of weird incidents happened during World War II. I mean, you have the whole thing with the Germans and them doing alleged direct energy weapons to try and stop. I heard there was one that they were trying to use like some kind of x-ray thing, like an x-ray beam or something to, I don't know if it stops or like screws up some kind of particles in an aircraft engine, but it's supposed to be like an anti-aircraft direct energy weapon. Something like that was happening. They also had the whole thing, the Nazi UFOs, the whole term Foo Fighters. There's a band named it. Foo Fighters was a term used by Allied aircraft pilots to describe UFOs or mysterious things, phenomena that they saw. Not to mention all the other weird demonic shit you can read into. I mean, there's tons of claims about weird stuff, especially during a war because it's just like a violent thing. But I mean, we talked about those on an earlier podcast. There was during the Battle of Britain to like prevent a landing or something, a bunch of witches got together and had like a group meeting and they danced away or put a spell on Germany or some shit like that. I'm probably getting it totally wrong, but there's also sightings of weird stuff. Like especially in Vietnam, there was the lizard creature thing that they saw. I wonder if it's just because of it's hard to say because some of it you're like, well, yeah, these dudes are in a war. And I'm not talking about the experimentation or anything. I'm talking about like encounters, like during a battle. I'm not talking about testing or anything. Like that's one thing. But then to see like a ghost sighting, or not a ghost sighting, but a monster sighting or something during wartime, like when you're patrolling, is kind of a different thing. Those things, you think to yourself, it's like, well, are these soldiers just experiencing a super heightened state of consciousness? And also, who knows what their nutrition's like at that moment? Maybe this is like the third day of their mission or the first day. Who knows how they feel? Or are they, because these stories come from people that are just regular infantry guys and then people that are special operations dudes that are used to it, or not used to it, but just hardened and prepared for combat. They also have these stories, and you kind of have to maintain a cool head, right? That's the whole point, to stay alive and everything. So it's like, what do I go with here? Are they like peaked emotion, or are they level-headed and maybe I should think about it? But then usually the level-headed ones are like, I don't know what I saw. It was kind of like this, but it was just really fast. So they're usually modest with it. Who knows what goes on? But if it's a straight up battle, like if you're in a city or some shit and it's all bombed up and there's fires and everything, I mean, the shadows from the fires and the civilians and people sneaking around, I think that if it's straight up combat, it's going to be like a lot harder to pin it on something odd, just because so much that's going on around you is foreign to like normal life. I mean, how much fucking crazier can it get, especially if you're in a battle? I think one of the last things you're thinking about is some kind of supernatural thing. You're just trying not to get killed. It's like a whole different mindset. But especially like I mentioned with the Vietnam thing, some of those things must be terrifying. I don't know if they did many night patrols or whatever, but especially like those SOG dudes, they were sometimes dropped in there at night, or they would sleep there, and it's like, can you imagine just being in a pitch black jungle at night? I guess I would still kind of blame it on, oh shit, is that a tiger or something? I don't know. Some of the things can get creepy, especially like those tunnel rat stories where those guys have to crawl through those caves, and you could not. I will desert. I don't care. I'm not going to crawl through a cave, bro. Are you dumb? Like, I literally, that's just, there's got to be some kind of way out of it. Like, can I say something? Or is it peer pressure? Like, Steve did it yesterday, so it's your turn now? Or is it just the short dudes? I'm pretty tall, so maybe I wouldn't be on fucking imminent death duty But it's in all wars, man. There's that cave creature, and I think it was Afghanistan. That story I heard too. The one about the Kandahar giant, it's still classified, but it's like in 2002, a Spec Ops squad went to the mountains of this Kandahar province trying to find some kind of nuke or some shit, and they found this red-headed, 6-digit, double-toothed humanoid thing that attacked everybody, but it's apparently a hoax. Every war has their own. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. I wanted to hop on. I feel better. I do feel better, man. I was stuck on that bongo breaking, but I'm going to try and smoke out of it. Hopefully I don't get, you know what I mean? So keep me in your thoughts. Go review the podcast, do all that good stuff. But most importantly, please leave a comment if you can. I want to hear what you have to say, what you liked, what you didn't like, if you got any ideas. And if you're just stumbling through and you're like, nah, dude, I'm listening. Maybe you're on incognito mode, not able to log in to whatever. If you can't, you can't. But if you can, leave a comment for me. Thank you. I appreciate everything. Peace.